Oh, I got my analog handheld system. That's pretty cool. Have you seen those? It's not emulation. It will just play any Game Boy, Game Boy Color, or Game Boy Advance game. However, somebody did crack the firmware, and now you can emulate on it with a little bit of magic. So I'm excited to play Golden Sun, which I hear is a Game Boy Advance RPG that I would like, and I've never played.
I never played those. I have like a Ziploc bag full of old Game Boy Advance games somewhere in this apartment, though, that I don't even think I can really fully play anymore.
Got any winners in there?
Yeah. No, I think I got like both Fire Emblems in there.
Wait, do you really?
Maybe. Want me to check?
Like Sacred Stones? I'll absolutely buy that off you.
Yeah, let me check. Let's keep rolling. I got him.
You have it?
Let me see. Should I just go through my list of games right here?
Sure.
So yeah, we got Fire Emblem Sacred Stones.
Fuck yeah, man.
Final Fantasy VI, Fire Emblem first one, Gunstar Superheroes. It's a dope fucking game. Sonic Advance 2, Choo Choo Rocket, which
Alex Hawking shit.
Yeah, the original Zelda NES
nice
one, and Sega Smash Pack, which does have Echo the Dolphin on it, and Golden Axe. Golden Axe kind of rips, and then there's a DS cartridge of Castlevania Portrait of Ruin. Now, what will you offer for this stack of video games I can't play?
What do you want? I mean, I'll pay you for. I mean, because Sacred Stones isn't cheap. So.
It isn't. I do not know the value of any of these. Maybe I should Google it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say you probably couldn't get like a legit Sacred Stones cartridge for less than like $80.
For real?
Yeah. Fire Emblem games on console, especially past consoles, are kind of hard to find. Like Path of Radiance, the GameCube one, goes for like $250 now.
Yeah, you'd actually be surprised about how much like old, even the more recent Pokemon games go for. Even the DS ones.
The secondary market for this stuff is wild.
Yeah, crazy. And there's like bootlegs, and like there's like places.
I know bootlegging's a thing.
Dedicated to like sniffing out whether something is a bootleg or not a bootleg.
Well, I can confirm the authenticity of both these Fire Emblem games. I think I got them both for Christmas in that time. So unless people were like way ahead of the curve in bootlegging Fire Emblem games, I'm pretty sure they're legit.
I would say as long as you're ahead of Etsy, they're probably legit.
I forget that you can buy like ROM hacks and stuff on Etsy.
Yeah, I thought about going for it because they're only like $15.
Yeah,
I'm like, well, it's not really that bad of a risk.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you'll sell me the legit cartridge, I'll take it off your hands.
Yeah. Damn, Gunstar Superheroes goes for like fucking $45. What am I doing? I don't sell
Sell
shit.
them and take the GF out for a night on the town. Girl, I sold my GBA game.
I got that Sacred Stones money.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hit it!
Hello and welcome to Swimfans. This is your premier video game secondary market retailing podcast. I am your co-host, Josh, drinking my lover's poisoned coffee, Mackenzie.
I'm Craig, writing really, really verbose dialogue for Angelina Jolie Neeson.
I'm Alex Cleavage Hawking.
This week on the podcast, we are talking 2001 Michael Christopher film Original Sin, starring Antonio Banderas and Angelina Jolie. If you have not seen Original Sin, this is set in like late 19th century Cuba. Antonio Banderas plays Luis, who is a rich coffee merchant in Cuba, and he has sent to America for a wife because a man needs a wife. And that's all he has to say about that. So he gets what is implied to be a very homely woman. They don't show you the photograph. A woman by the name of Julia Russell. But when he arrives to pick Ms. Russell up, he finds that she is much, much more beautiful than he had been led to believe. And Julia Russell, played by Angelina Jolie, tells him that she substituted a less beautiful woman's picture for her own so that a man would marry her, not for her face. To which Banderas replies that, well, he is actually super rich and he didn't want someone to marry him for his money. So they both made out really well in the blind marriage department. Luis's whole thing at the start of the movie is that he doesn't believe in love and he will not ever fall in love. But that quickly changes because Julia is entrancing. He immediately becomes bewitched by her beauty and her charm. They wed and immediately begin a very sexually rich life. A lot of lounging, a lot of getting laid. Pretty soon after their honeymoon phase, Julia's sister from Delaware, Emily, writes to her and sends both a private detective and Emily herself eventually coming. Luis learns from the sister when she arrives that the Julia that he has married is not Julia Russell. It is, in fact, an imposter who may have killed her sister. Meanwhile, Julia has taken all the money out of Luis's bank accounts and fled. Luis is absolutely destroyed by this because against everything he wanted, he is in love with Julia. And he ends up teaming up with the private detective, Walter Downs. Luis tracks Julia down in Havana, and he sort of rekindles the romance with her when he realizes he can't live without her, and tries to bamboozle Detective Downs into saying he couldn't find her. He sort of sees through that, and it is revealed to us, the audience, when Luis is not in the scene, that Walter Downs is in fact Julia's, her real name Bonnie. Bonnie and Billy are like lifelong friends, lovers, some sort of Bonnie and Clyde situation. And what they do is they pull schemes. They pull schemes all over the place. And they have sort of like an abusive, emotionally and sexual relationship. It's revealed that the plan is to get Luis to like relinquish his share of the coffee company that he is a owner of. And then Billy and Bonnie will make off with the money. But Bonnie sort of finds herself torn two ways between Luis, who genuinely loves her and who she is developing real feelings for herself, and Billy, who she has a sort of complicated psychosexual history with. It all sort of culminates when Bonnie and Billy cook up a plan to poison Luis to death after he relinquishes his shares of the coffee company. And Luis and Bonnie have a very tender conversation where they kind of lay their feelings out all at once. And Bonnie realizes she loves him. So despite this, after Luis has figured out their scheme, heartbroken, he drinks the poisoned coffee anyway and begins to die. Billy storms in, believing the plan to be going off without a hitch, and Bonnie shoots him dead after a confrontation. There's been this whole time there's sort of been like a framing device where Bonnie is like in like a Cuban jail for murder, which they cut to like 4 or 5 times, like Princess Bride style. And we now cut back to that framing device where Bonnie has made a daring switch with the priest that lives in her prison cell to escape. And in the final scene, she and Luis, who has survived the poisoning, are doing like card count, like they're just cheating at cards in like the most obvious shitty way possible in Morocco. And now they are a criminal betrothed couple. What do we think of Original Sin?
So this is not a good movie, but I enjoyed it. I was in exactly the right mind frame to kind of experience this film, and I watched it all in one go, and I was fairly rapt by it. I mean, structurally, it's a kind of whiplashing of, duplicity, right? Of, you don't know whether Angelina Jolie is like lying, whether she's being truthful, being deceptive to the Banderas character or whatever. And that's okay. I think that the biggest fault, and I guess apologies or something, but Angelina Jolie just is not a good actress. All of her lines are really, really bad. Her line delivery is stilted and weird. Banderas is fine. He himself isn't, like, this movie isn't weapons grade Lifetime movie, but he himself is a different type of fissile material that I had a revelation about. He is in a parallel, like, string theory reality. he is the biggest Spanish language soap opera star ever. He is so good at being like in love and being tortured by love. He's fantastic, and he's, you know, of course, handsome and so on. And Tom Jane is fine playing this like skeevy dirtbag. But yeah, I mean, the plot falls all over itself. The ending is like absolutely bizarre, deeply unsatisfying, and just it's strange. Yeah. Also Antonio Banderas' character is like a slave owner. Like I don't mean to like cinema sense this, but like this is like Spanish rule, and he owns like a cotton, like a
coffee plantation.
Yeah, and it's like all of his slaves are doing like beautiful like pastoral things, like washing a horse or like putting out the linens, and it's like, when's Fidel coming? But that aside,
about 40 years from now,
you know,
he'd be in Morocco by then. He'd escape justice.
It's just like, yeah, this movie is just a wash. I don't know. Yeah, it's a love story, but I ultimately don't trust the like Jolie character. It seems like her love is like not like, I can't trust her. I don't know. The movie doesn't give you any language to like suggest that she has feelings, or that like her duplicitous nature can overcome like that and have feelings for him. I don't know. It's weird. This is a weird movie.
Can I go next?
Yep.
Yeah.
Kind of liked it. Kind of enjoyed myself. I do have caveats. First of all, this is the most free on Tubi movie we may have ever done. That's not true. We've done freer on Tubi movies.
We've been freer on Tubier movies.
But this one is exceptionally
Plush is the most free on Tubi movie we've watched so far.
That was the secret Tubi Plus that we accessed to get that.
yeah, the Tubi Gold account. But this movie is extremely free on Tubi. But fortunately for me, the viewer, I kind of adore melodrama. I don't know how you guys felt, but this is absolutely the biggest surprise that this was a period piece of any movie I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my god, the poster, and this movie's been on my radar since we started this podcast because it's like a erotic thriller with major stars, but the poster's just their faces. And so I don't know, I was expecting it to just take place in like then modern America, but instead instead we get like flung far into the past.
Yeah, when it was 1890s Cuba, I thought I was hallucinating.
Yeah.
I liked it. I mean, I think it's like I think it's nothing. Like at best, it's like a sugar sludge, right? But we've talked, especially on our 50 Shades episodes, about movies that kind of feel like fan fiction, and this movie just really feels like fan fiction in a way that's pleasing to me, because everything is just so big, right? I mean, Jolie's character, who I actually liked, I thought she was okay, but they literally do that whole thing where it's like a fake marriage. And then they do like real feelings, like you pretend to be in a fake relationship, which is a favorite fan fiction trope of mine. So already that's in its corner. I loved that scene where so after Julia flees, Luis follows her, and then he finds her again, and then they have like this confrontation in Julia's hotel room, and Banderas has like this big scene where he's like, "Can't you see that I can't live without you?" And I just curled up on the couch and I took like another sip of wine, and I was like,
yeah.
And I'm like, absolutely. Can't you see that, Angelina? So I mean, yeah, I thought it was fun. I like that Billy, Tom Jane's character, is just an unrepentant psychopath. Like he just cuts her with a knife during sex for some reason.
Oh yeah, he's like marking her. I forgot about that.
They never go back to that.
It's just to illustrate that Billy's a freak. But it's just such high drama for this love triangle that I can't help but care. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this was like eating hummingbird feed. It's just sugar water. Yeah. It was great.
I also kind of liked this movie. This is not how I expected this episode to go. This is one of our fabric movies where the eroticism is about the soft skin poking through a rigid vintage dress, which is valid. I love The Handmaiden. It's a great fabric movie. I also kind of liked Angelina Jolie in it. I think she's pretty good at being like pretty and edgy at the same time, especially at like this point in her career when she's in her like peak Billy Bob Thornton era. I think she just kind of has that. She kind of just walks in with that in the same way that like Michael Douglas just walks in with Malice, you know?
Yeah, you're right.
I liked Tom the Punisher Jane. He's such like a unique figure. He only starred in The Punisher, but he's in like 900 movies.
Yeah,
I like that about him. I like his moxie here. Like that he like Josh said. I like that he's a psychopath. I was a little disappointed, but it's me being upset about what the movie isn't rather than what it is. Because I thought when Angelina Jolie leaves for the first time, Antonio Banderas and Tom Jane go on like a quest to find her, and I thought we were gonna get like an existential quest movie.
Why did you think that?
Well, because I don't know, he has to find his like sketchy lover. I thought we were gonna do some Man on Fire shit or something.
yeah.
It's my personal favorite genre of movie, so I just was excited about it.
Sure.
So I was incredibly disappointed when they find her like immediately. Like they look one place and she's there. The second half is maybe just a bit too close to the first half for me. It like sketchy girl acts sus and it ends poorly. Oh, and I hated the editing at the end of the movie. The editing like really falls apart. Like we're going into slow-mo and we're going into like
it's jump cutting.
Yeah, there's jump cuts that I can't figure out. Like they don't build in intensity, and they don't seem to be like truncating things meaningfully. It just seemed like they needed to like increase the drama and like the final sequence of the three of them together, but I don't think it really worked very well. It actually came out like really distracting. Really dated it to like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Like it's a really kind of like edgy editing technique, like you'd see like a Korn music video or something, right? Like the kid just yells at his dad, and it like rapid cuts or whatever. And
somebody screaming in a POD music video.
Adam's song just blasting in the background. But it doesn't work here because it's a fabric movie, so it just really sticks out. That said, I liked it. I didn't love it. I don't know. Maybe liking it's a bit too much. I almost liked it. Might be more accurate.
Yeah, we can start there. Because they do that editing, this like bold editing is in the whole movie, and it's dreadful.
It's like how you would edit a movie trailer, not a movie.
Yeah, I don't know what it's for. I do think you're right. It's to like increase like this sense of danger, but like this is like a sensuality movie of like Jolie's breasts popping out of a corset,
right?
And like really pretty like bed skirts, and I don't know why they're
drinking
like
your lover's poison. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. They're like, why would I want to watch him look at her in slow motion?
Right.
Why would it jump cut 4 times? While they're having like a regular conversation.
Why would Down with the Sickness just blast out of the speakers at this moment?
I'm trying to figure out if it's just like a stop. I mean, because I'm trying to figure out if I hate this or hate that stylistic choice, or if it's just not a good stylistic choice. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to think of like a good reason to do slow-mo into jump cuts.
It doesn't belong here. I mean,
they don't at odds with it. Yeah,
and then you don't establish the terrain of a film that does that, but then suddenly near the end, third act, you're gonna do that. It's destabilizing. It points to the artifice of the doing rather than it being like part of the thing that flows seamlessly, right? So it's all the more obvious where it completely, at least for me, completely takes me out of the moment. I'm like, why? What? Wait, what? Sorry, we're jump cutting. Okay, all right.
I guess more what I mean is like I'm trying to decide if I just hate it. Like I can't think of like a good use for it. Like when I would ever want to see that over like a more naturalistic. I'm not saying it's wrong and don't do it. I'm trying to think of a time when I would like it.
They do it a few times in Tron Legacy that I think is pretty good. That's the first one that jumps to my head, is when they're leaving the End of Line Club. It kind of does that a bit.
Did we see that together?
No, I saw it with Joel.
Oh, okay.
Unless we watched it later. I've seen it many times. But I think anything can be done well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just this texture, this kind of story. It doesn't like stick out in a good way in like the way that like the zooms in Barry Lyndon work, or the sort of slow motion at like the beginning of like Chungking Express is jarring in like a expressive way. It just feels really 2000s to me in like a way that's completely at odds with the story and the vibe of the movie.
Well, I mean, definitely anything can work and everything has its place, but I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is because I think everyone has techniques they prefer and like less, right? Like there's a more of a reduction of chance that you would like this in any context, and I think I might just hate when like movies jump cut like this. Like I can't think of a time I've seen that where I was like, that was better than just letting the scene play.
Well, it's hard to do. I mean, because it like is a fundamental destabilization of our kind of perception of like the illusion of continuity in a scene, right? Like we take it for granted that like when a character gets up and they walk out a door, you know, where they grab the door handle swings, door swings, we cut to the other side. Illusion of continuity in the editing. It destabilizes it, and it points to like the artifice of making a cut, which is like all like one of the main reasons Godard used it, for example. Yeah. You know, like one of the contemporary successful uses of it I've seen is Nymphomaniac. I don't know that I've really encountered it contemporary where I've liked it for sure. I've not seen it. I think it's a hard thing to do well because unless you're Godard and you're talking about like the fact that you're making a film while you're making the film, like it's hard. It doesn't gel well with something that is has a first act, second act, third act type like drama movie that's free on Tubi. And that like your mom might have seen on IFC at 2 a.m. for some reason.
Definitely not a movie with this much brocade in it.
No.
Maybe it just comes off as like desperate or something. Like they really weren't confident in the impact of their third act, so they try to just like post-production.
Yeah, this movie I think
tweak it up. Like, sorry.
Yeah. To a larger point, I think that this movie is, I don't know what this expression means, but I'm going to use it. It's a little big for its britches. I think
that was good.
It wants to be something that is a little more prestige-y and period piecey when it's fundamentally like Josh and I kind of articulated. It's like, this is a soap opera. This is a melodrama. Like, full stop.
Fabio should be on the cover of this novel.
I mean, they did actually a pretty terrific job, I think, in manifesting the world in like costumes and in locales and accents and so on. Even if we're getting this bizarro version of Cuba, where like I guess the aristocrats, one of them gets dunked on. The one that's like Angelina Jolie has sunk her claws into the second time, where it's like she knows all about his business and he's drunk and she's like, but what about the stocks that you hold or whatever? And he's like, boy, you sure do read a lot of newspapers or whatever. And like he's a sugarcane plantation owner, and it's like, you know, I think it does like a successful job of doing like a romantic version of like slavery era Cuba, you know, but it's not a prestige. This is a bona fide soap opera.
Right.
Yeah. And to that end, Antonio Banderas, perfect, amazing choice for this film.
Yeah.
I'm not even particularly attracted to him, but he was still giving.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, like I was still like, yeah, he's smoldering. I get it. My bodice is ripping.
The sex scene where it's actually, I love the way that it's shot. It's like straight down at the bed, and he's just like fully naked. If that camera had like an axial kind of rotation, you would be seeing Antonio Banderas' hole, like 2 degrees off rotation. I mean, he's just like full ass out, naked.
Again,
Shades
film.
take notes.
Again, films are cowards.
For real. I mean, it's like he feels.
Show hole.
Yeah, show hole. And then this movie like
Pussy.
very very nearly does it, and that's impressive. Yeah, so he feels sexy and he feels motivated with this love. He really is the binding kind of glue of this film.
Honestly, that sex scene, one of the best we've seen in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I don't remember the last time, I want to say maybe Noé's Love, that I saw like somebody give somebody head in like a movie.
Single white female.
Stranger by the Lake, I think.
Oh yeah,
a lot of blowjobs in that one.
Yeah.
But it was like, I don't know, it really made it feel more real that they didn't get right to like grinding against each other. There was like a sensuality to that, and like Craig said, it's shot beautifully. It felt like they were really having sex. Basically, it wasn't like overly, it wasn't Showgirls, and it wasn't what's that movie we just watched? It wasn't Damage. It wasn't like just bizarre depictions of feigning sex. It just felt like sex.
Yeah.
So.
Avant-garde body movement performance art, just like pushing on each other's faces. Yeah, no, I mean it felt very, very, very real, very tactile, very successfully rendered.
Everyone involved completely nailed getting sucked off in a canopy bed.
Yeah, and
not
you need
easy.
That.
No, that's a compliment.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the foundation on which the movie rests, because otherwise, you know, if Antonio Banderas didn't get like total like sloppy top in that bed, then why would he be like, you know, willing to drink nightshade or whatever the fuck at the end, right? Because he got
the very sinister pale green, the very sinister matcha powder that they put into his beverage.
yeah. I mean, that's what happens when you get that just insane sloppy top. Is you know, you're willing to go to the end of the earth for it.
Yeah.
When the salvia hits. But really not just the sex, but the especially in that like honeymoon phase of the movie, there is such a sensuality to it. Like when they're in that hideously uncomfortable bathtub and she like mutilates that bird, like right before she mutilates that bird. It's like which we need to come back to, but like she's like it's just kind of like banal sensuality. Like they're just like naked and lying together in a way that like Michael Douglas could never. Like he gets in and gets in and gets out.
Yeah.
He doesn't remove his shirt all the time. But there really is like a languidness, a languidity to this.
Yeah, I mean, you're allowed to when you have like two like objectively beautiful people. They can just be like gentle with each other on a balcony or whatever, and it works.
Michael Douglas got sucked off in Disclosure. He didn't come though.
Hugh Jackman got head in
Swordfish. Yeah,
that's right. While he was hacking, yeah.
Yep. One of our great getting top moments.
Yeah, Mr. Skin, we are available for hire. Not everyone has an encyclopedic knowledge of this subject.
What's the movie where like that freak on IMDb wrote about how you can't see that
Neon Demon?
Neon Demon, yeah.
You couldn't see the corpse's genitals in the censored version on iTunes.
Movies were a mistake, man.
Yeah, and I'm 100% convinced that he hallucinated a director's cut. I don't think you ever saw this. This is like the blood was red going down the drain in Psycho kind of thing. Like, no, it wasn't. It's a black and white movie. You lunatic.
Mandela affected himself into a different cut.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mandela affected himself into getting mad at a movie for not showing dead body genitals. Yeah, I think Tom Jane really does a good job playing a slimy character. It is kind of you don't know whether he's a slimy bastard because he's a private detective or because he's a slimy bastard because he has some other game going on. So I was successfully kind of unsure of where he was landing. So that at least plot wise was very successful. I had no idea how it was gonna pan out with him.
I also will say he does a pretty good job of being like a psychopath, but like I don't want to say in a sexy way because I'm not like into him so much, but like you kind of get why she's torn between it because like he's like less sexual than Banderas's character, but he's sexy enough that you can see why, given the history that she has with him, it would be hard to let him go.
Yeah.
Even though, again, he's a psychopath.
Yeah, like you can successfully how they've kind of twisted together. You know how they've done the thing for so long that they've kind of fused at the hip in a way. He's not so insane that she it doesn't feel unreasonable that she would be continually drawn to him and be conflicted by it.
Yeah, he may have what the kids call big dick energy.
Yeah.
Or at least medium dick energy.
Yeah, he's very assertive. He's like, this is what we're going to do. This is why we're going to do it. We've always done it. And there's no one else in the world but me for you. You know, he's like pulling out all these like devastating and effective manipulative tactics. And it feels natural for Angelina Jolie's character to behave like she does. So in that sense, very, very successful. It's interesting that man can play like the most like anodyne like dad, but also can be like such a sleaze so easily. It's interesting. He's good. I like that guy.
Yeah.
He can do lawful dad, neutral dad, and chaotic dad.
Dad. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and to talk a bit about like the fan fictionness of this movie, he's the great like third corner of this because like you want Banderas' character to win. Like you kind of want them to get together because that's what the whole movie is based on. But he's like good enough. Craig and I aren't going to be arguing about this like the Hunger Games is what I'm saying.
No.
He's decently adversarial, but he doesn't steal the spotlight.
Yeah.
And he was the Punisher too.
Yep.
And Tom Jane the Punisher.
And he blew up all those
Tom
cars.
Jane the Punisher Jane.
He blew up all those cars in the shape of a skull at the end of the movie. That was pretty cool.
I'm so sorry, but he's also in The Mist, the Stephen King adapted film The Mist.
Yeah. That is him, isn't it?
He's exceptional in that film.
God, he's in every Eric movie.
Tom the Miss Jane.
Big Eric energy.
BEE.
B. He also has a great cameo in Arrested Development.
I just want my kids back.
I just want my kids back. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
I don't think I realized that was him.
Yeah.
That's the joke, actually, is that they don't realize that it's Tom Jane.
Yep. Yeah. That Lindsay has no idea that he's not actually homeless. He's just yeah. Jolie, I really one of the things that I feel like I am getting tripped up by with the Jolie character and the performance is I wish they wouldn't have given her an accent. I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's like a weird fidelity to like the time, the period piece-ness of it all. But she can't swing it. For me, she can't swing whatever muddled like period American accent that she's giving. It's real tough for her. It makes her lines feel really, really rickety to the point of them being like kind of bad.
Yeah, refresh my memory. Is it like vaguely Britishy what she's doing?
It's like
I didn't really get that.
it's period America. It's not. She's not. It's like.
Because, like, I mean, especially on the East Coast, I mean, 40 years from now, they'd have, like, that mid-Atlantic accent. But I don't know what, like, an 1890s Delaware accent would sound like.
Right.
So I guess I agree with you. I would have given her no accent at all.
I think it would be, no one would have questioned it if she were speaking with a kind of, like, obviously not using, like, verbiage that we would use contemporary verbiage, but, like, you know, just giving, like, a normal American accent, I think would have been perfectly fine. Nobody would have been like, they didn't talk like that back then. And it, you know, whereas I'm in the audience like, that plantation owner should get beheaded.
You're nude, covered in your various serums, scolding your screen.
I'm Skarsgård's character in fucking Dune, just like covered in like black ichor.
Your time will come.
Just like I have like a little like Fidel medallion that I'm like pawing at. But she's fine. I
like her.
What Alex says is completely true. She non-verbally is able to walk on the screen and give you objective beauty. Seductive beauty, while also having
Sultry.
that little bit that little bit of sultriness, that little bit of like unobtainableness, that little bit of darkness. It's like the John Voight DNA. Actually, that was going to be my intro, was Craig John Voight Neeson. That little John Voightness that's in her, that allows her to be a little bit like dark no matter what. Have that little shade, even if she's like radiant and in like an Edwardian or Victorian kind of like dress. She still has like a kind of three-dimensionality non-verbally, which is hard to articulate, actually. It's just the way that she carries herself, the way that her eyes are big.
I don't know. It's like star quality.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't need to defend Angelina Jolie's legacy to anybody. She's still relevant now, but like, she has such a presence in the way that like movie stars do, right?
Yeah.
Like she just stands there and is commanding. And it does not hurt that she is styled amazingly in this movie. They chose pretty dresses and they put her in them. And that's all that I ask for in a movie.
They knew what they were doing when it came to fabric in this movie.
They are lifting, and they are pressing together, getting a lot of Wonder Bra type action.
Yeah. The corsets are really pretty too.
Yeah.
On what other podcast are you going to get people talking about the bodices?
Do you think those are bone or steel?
Well, 1890s in Cuba, definitely.
Yeah. It would have been hard to source certain materials. You understand?
This podcast is 7 hours long. I will say this movie's like, I think you sort of touched on this, Alex. The plot's just a mess.
Yeah.
In a way that technically does make it feel like fan fiction, but not in the good way. There's just like a lot of like going back and forth. Like the narrative like folds back in on itself for some reason, because like the movie starts out and he gets her, and I sort of like that at the beginning because she is like just a touch sinister, and then she almost goes ghoul when she like mutilates that canary, but then she's not really a ghoul. She decides to become like a three-dimensional person, and so like the movie like sort of adjusts to this big change in her character that feels like it wasn't perhaps all the way thought out, because it is weird that she leaves and then he finds her again, and then like she kind of like leaves again with Billy, and then he like finds her. It's like a lot of like backtracking. I can't always tell. This is like a small note or whatever. I can't always tell where they are. Like I know it's all Cuba, but like parts of the movie are in Havana, and those parts are like important, and then other parts aren't in Havana, and they're like, when I found you in Havana, and I'm like, I thought we were in Havana.
And they move at one point, but they move to a different part of Havana.
Yeah. I mean, this is such a small problem, but like I think coupled with the fact that the narrative is a lot of back and forth, it just feels like we covered this already, and it's weird that we're back to it.
Aren't they in South America at one point?
Are they?
Or am I correct?
No, I think he goes to Santiago.
Yeah.
So to Chile,
Chile.
but like I don't think they go. I think he goes off camera.
Right. It was the idea of like him going off to get the money that is there or whatever. That like weird throwaway plot thing where he would go get the Santiago money. Okay, that's where I got confused. But there's throwaway things like that where he's gonna go to Santiago, but then that one night she decides no, he's not gonna go. We're gonna do this like card game thing, where she is doing the kind of like tells with her like
the worst cheating at fucking cards.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude.
Okay, so listener, if you've not seen it, their scheme is that she will, like a vulture, rotate around the table looking at the gentleman's hands and then make extremely conspicuous gestures to her neck or her
ear or chest. And
whatever
while
that
she's
French word is for a
staring
woman's
at
collarbone.
well, she's staring at their cards. Like,
yes, and it's not like she's this objective third party watching this gentleman's card game, which I guess could conceivably work in that case. They go out of their way to be like, "That's my wife."
Yes.
With
a vested interest in helping me cheat at cards.
She just like constantly plying these men with like the shittiest tap water, while like leaning over their cards.
It's like when they're in figure drawing and your teacher comes up behind you to watch you draw. That's what she's doing.
Yeah, like just like it's so obvious. And of course they get caught, and then there's that bizarre sequence where like Banderas gets the shit beat out of him, and then like it's deeply implied that the Jolie character is like sexually assaulted by the men. It gets like real dark.
Yeah.
And
They
for
probably
why?
could have done without that.
Yeah.
Well, so then the last scene they're in Morocco, but it's also like all white, and I'm like, are they in heaven?
Yes.
Is this like
Yes.
is this Morocco in the afterlife?
The language that the priest switched places with Jolie and the Jolie character was free. I was like, oh, okay. But the way that Morocco, the little stage that they made for Morocco, completely in white. Is there a little bit of fog on the floor too, or am I?
Yeah,
Yes.
It's like
like-
it's like white. The curtains are gossamer white. The blinding white light coming in through the window.
Everyone is wearing white. Like it feels like heaven. And I was like, wait, are they dead? I was not 100% sure, but I knew that the language had told me that no, in fact, at least the Jolie character was very much alive. So, yeah, and then, of course, they're doing what they failed to do once, so they're going to fail at it again, where she's doing the same fucking thing of walking on the table, playing cards, and she does the fucking, the real kicker is one of the signals is her doing the cut across the throat with the finger,
Right.
which means to like fold, or like they don't have any cards, so like go all in or whatever. It's like, oh man, you gotta be a little more just like boys, my wife is gonna join us for cards, and she's like making like this slitting throat gestures as she's applying you with like tap water. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, she might as well just say, this guy's got nothing. I almost wondered if the scheme would work at the end, because I'm like, okay, they're a continent over. There's no way they know that they're a married couple. This is just a woman watching a card game. No. And then they're like, by the way, Louise, well done on your super hot wife.
By the way, that's my wife. It's my wife looking at all your cards. Ridiculous.
Oh God!
Did you see? This is kind of a brain.
We shamed Marduk Scramble for this.
Yeah,
Marduk Scramble was much better at cards.
This is a brain worm. But did you guys see that poker controversy that happened a few months ago?
No.
What happened?
It was like it was something like the Hustler online poker tournament or something. A woman who was playing like called a bet that was just like it was Texas Hold'em, so not all the cards were visible yet, and she was like 90% going to lose the hand, and she called like a huge raise, and then she won the hand, and now everyone thinks she cheated. And like the New York Times wrote about it. Like people think that like her ring was vibrating after they left the table. One of like the people who worked there like came by and stole some chips from her stack. So people are like, oh, that was like she paid off a producer to make it so she'd win. Like gave her like the heads up on the info, and all of it sucks. Like I don't know if she cheated or not, or if she just made a dumb move, because that can happen too, you know? Like you can absolutely just get extremely lucky, and also how would she ever know what the dealer was going to flip? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be.
Maybe she's the girl from Murdoch Scramble.
Right.
Maybe she's
right.
just really, she's got the gamble sense.
She's
exactly
Ashley Cards or whatever the fuck her name is.
Well,
Ashley Egg.
Same thing with that chess guy who they think had anal beads to tell him how to make them.
Yeah.
One more time? You want to run that back for me?
Did you not hear about the anal beads chess master?
No.
Yeah,
I've heard of him. Yeah.
My Pornhub search. Yeah.
I mean, so it's ostensibly that's this guy who's like really, really good at chess. In fact, like according to like you know, I mean, there's the amount of wins and the way that he wins is very like computer like, or like defies like certain. I don't know much about chess, but there's kind of like the kind of probability of winning. He like errs towards like extreme like machine to the point where it's kind of ludicrous. So there's an idea, I don't know if that's been proven or not, where he was perhaps had anal beads in that vibrated to tell him what moves to make or whatever. You know,
is there any basis for that at all?
I think it's his. I mean, I know that like previous to the controversy, a lot of like chess masters would like refuse to play against him because of a suspicion that he was cheating, because he was doing. It's like Alex is articulating. It's statistically kind of improbable for that to happen to him, for him to make wins like that. It's more of like a machine, which if like someone is on the other end running like a machine simulation, that's gonna like win out against a human kind of regardless. But
there's a great video by the YouTube channel Down the Rabbit Hole. I don't know if you guys are fans of that channel. I love that channel. But he made a great video about Deep Blue, the IBM chess playing robot in the 90s, where he actually does a great job of explaining how a person plays is like completely different from how a machine plays. And at one point in like the second match, the machine played basically what people think is like a human move. And it threw the whole question about is there like a chess grandmaster like giving information to the computer to play, like because it was like the turning point of the match was that the one move like didn't make sense for a computer to ever make.
Interesting.
I wonder how much. Sorry, I have never heard of any of this. I'm talking to my ass entirely. But like, at some level, is there not confirmation bias in this? Like, you're like looking for almost incomprehensible, because like, especially because the human brain is just going to make something up. Like, I don't know how you accurately determine, especially on like an infinite like input of data, what a machine move and what a human move is. So I understand it's based on like the pattern of the moves they've made, but
yeah, and I think that the patterns that can be made by like someone that's a, you know, I mean, there's not there are discrete strategies, right? Like of like how to play, but you know, a machine is accounting for probability, right? Like considering all the kind of potential moves in the game, all the kind of theoretical outcomes, and kind of narrowing it down to a kind of I mean, capable of handling like the foresight of I don't know. No,
I see what you mean. It's not like a strategy in the way that humans do strategy.
Yeah.
It's like accounting
the video
for
actually does a great job of explaining that.
like all the potential outcomes, like string theory, like theoretically this could move there, and in that case that would move there, but like following all these like if then kind of scenarios.
Okay, that makes sense.
Which is like, so the machine wins always, I think, or a sophisticated one will always win, right?
Well, they go into in the video like the guy playing chess, blanking on his name, Gary Kasparov maybe, at a certain point realizes that if he tries to play against the computer like he would a regular opponent, the computer would beat him. So he starts playing computer chess against it, and you can just slowly kind of like take everyone out to the point where he wins, you know?
But this was Deep Blue, right?
Yeah, this was Deep Blue. This is like modern chess computers are infinitely more advanced than Deep Blue was.
I like bishops. I like that they move diagonally, and they can move as many squares as you want them to.
I like to move the queen.
We all like to move the queen. It's a bad
idea.
Yeah,
but I like to do it.
Yeah.
I like the idea of a knight, but I don't like them in practice.
Oh, I love them. Move them in the L's.
Yeah, you like to come at them with an L shape.
Yeah. You're like, I'm going straight. No, I'm not.
Yeah, no, I prefer rooks and bishops because I like
you like simplicity.
To see what's coming. Yes, elegant simplicity.
Yeah, I'm only about moving in the cardinal directions or like northeast. And
God's
southwest.
Directions.
Craig plays only by shuffling the king around the board.
He's never won.
Just get those pesky pawns out of the way and just fucking go wild with the king.
You actually execute your own pawns so the king has more room to roam.
Some kind of like obscure deserter role where like I can roleplay that my pawns are deserting so I can execute them.
I call this the feral king defense, and it's
your kingdom implodes. Yeah.
Do we have any final thoughts about Original Sin?
My final note is I can fix her.
I see that for you.
I think Antonio Banderas does a great job of making this the soap opera that it absolutely can be. If it were a little more coherent, or coherent, I guess is maybe a bad word.
Interesting.
A little more interesting, and the plot had a little more clarity, where perhaps it shed some of its excess nonsense. I think it could have been much better. I just the way that I started this off, completely true. I enjoyed this movie. It was fun. I'm never gonna see it again, but it was fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you like melodrama, if you like fan fiction, you should watch it.
You like fabric.
Yep.
If you like fabric, because the movie does, like, in terms of like location and production design, it is quite lush.
Yeah.
So there's like a lot of like good things to look at and imagine touching. But yeah, I mean, I'm probably not going to think about it again after this either. But I did give it 3 stars.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, 3.
Wow. I thought this was going to be more divisive. I thought I was going to be shamed for an hour for loving this, for liking this movie.
Like I said earlier, I almost liked it.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for listening. Maybe you even learned something about playing chess.
You shouldn't. You shouldn't.
If you learn something about playing chess, please check yourself into a facility.
Shit, that's how knights move?
Yes, if you learned about bishops, you're too young to be listening to Swim Fans.
You're thinking about you're imagining yourself as a chess master, and you're eyeing the butt plug over on your nightstand. Please stop. Do not engage.
Anyone can do this.
The most fun way to cheat at chess. You can find the show at all your podcatchers of choice. That's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. Please leave us a rating. Please leave us a review wherever you listen. We really appreciate it. And it's Christmas time. Okay, Scrooge? Open up the purse strings and give us a rating. We're your 3 auditory Tiny Tims. And if we're to survive this winter, we need...
The ghost of Christmas past. The ghost of Christmas present. The ghost of Christmas future.
We need the reviews and the star ratings to survive the winter. And we also have a YouTube channel, which you should subscribe to. Please and thank you. And you can also find us on all the social medias. User Swimfans Pod. That's Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. And you can find me on all the same places at User Amons. AMONNS. Alex.
The Dom uses the butt plug to give the chess player the wrong data in order to humiliate them when they lose. You can follow me on Twitter at Diatron5 and on Letterboxd Diatron Craig.
You can find me at Craig Neeson on Instagram and Letterboxd and www.craigneeson.com.
Folks, next week it is our Christmas movie. Every year we have a movie that takes place during Christmas. What are we doing this year?
Batman Returns.
You also return next week.
Yeah.
Y'all come back now, you hear?
What's taking us out?
Sin by 9 Inch Nails.
Bye-bye.
Bye.